is. How's everybody doing? My name is Alan Roberts. Those of you that are here probably know that already. If you're watching live or pre-recorded, I am talking to a nutritionist today, Healthanie, about recovering from binge eating. I didn't put it in the title because basically if you put it in the title, they axe the video. So, but I just thought it would be neat for us to like sit down and have a conversation. I came across your content because I do like pretty much comb the internet for people's opinions on binge eating disorder to try to learn for myself to help my clients, but also to just kind of be able to, see what other people are saying about it, the information that other people are saying. And I got to admit, like, and I want you to tell everybody where they can find you right off the bat, but I got to admit, I'm very impressed because I think most people get it very wrong. Tell everybody, introduce yourself to everybody who you are and where they can get a hold of you.
Sure. So I'm Stephanie. You can find me on social media. My name is Healthanie. On TikTok, it's just Healthanie. On Instagram, it's Healthanie with 2 E's. And now on YouTube, it's also Healthanie with 2 E's. And from there, you can find all my website and everything from there.
Very good. So you want to tell people a little bit about your background and that sort of thing?
Sure. So I'm a certified nutritional therapy practitioner, but I also have a master's of public health and behavior change. I'm also a master's certified health education specialist, and I'm certified in crisis intervention. So that's a little bit of my, and the most important, I've suffered from binging disorder for over 16 years and food addiction for over 3.
Yeah, those are the important ones. But I will say that you and I could have a much crazier conversation about public health and how things have been going in the last 10 years too.
Yeah.
So, but we'll do that on a different show. So
okay.
Because I've sat on the committees for multiple counties in the United States to help write public health policy, especially when it comes to outbreaks, and I have a lot to say. So the normal nutritionist, dietitian thoughts on binge eating disorder is pretty much that it almost doesn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that it doesn't even exist is that they're looking at it more from the lens of restriction, is that they think that binge eating is something that only people that are overweight also deal with. And so it's like, it's not something that's going on in our brains and our nervous system. So therefore it really can't exist. And eating disorders are viewed through this restrictive lens.
So I think that's pretty like my thought process on it, like where I've also seen it. I'm kind of amazed at how like the only eating disorders that are spoken about from mostly dietitians, especially, and a lot of the fat acceptance fitness people, is restriction, right? And restrictive eating disorders are a very serious issue. I mean, they truly are. I don't ever want to minimize it. But when you look at the scope of public health in general, people over restricting is not a public health crisis. By any stretch of the imagination. It's a health crisis for the individual and maybe their families and stuff. But it is not a public health crisis. Why do you believe that like for nutritionists and dietetics, why do you think it's set up to only look at restrictive versus the actual true issue that America is facing, especially in that we are an enormously fat country? And I personally believe, like, I see binge eating behavior almost everywhere, like in almost every facet of advertised life. But then even all the way from like when you look at portion sizes, like if you've ever traveled abroad, people, if you've ever gone to any other country, our portion sizes are comical, like comically big, right? Why do you think that is?
So I have a few thoughts here. And so when people think about like the root cause of binge eating, there's all this stuff like, oh, it has to do with your trauma. Oh, it has to do with this. Regardless of it's a response to dysregulation, right? And so it doesn't matter what it caused the initial dysregulation, whether that be significant trauma or just you're a little bit stressed out and you're reaching for food. It is a response to dysregulation. But it then becomes a point where it's not just a response to dysregulation. There is something going on in the food that's driving you to go back. And can I share a personal story?
Share whatever you
Okay.
want. Speak freely. Feel free to interrupt me, anything you want.
Okay, cool. Actually, I'll start with the story from one of my clients. Is she was telling me that she went to an eating disorder therapist and shared a story of how she had a binge eating disorder. And the first thing the therapist says to her is, you don't have a binge eating disorder, because she took one look at her and she wasn't overweight. And she's like, well, tell me how you think that shows up. So this girl, and her name's Anna, she's fine with me sharing her information, but she had a huge binge episode at home and then went out to not one, not two, but 3 fast food restaurants. When you just right there is telling you this is not just about a little bit of dysregulation. There is something in the food. You are keep going back. So I think some of that could be is they don't want to recognize it as a food addiction issue, if they're making money otherwise. But there's definitely something in the food that they don't want to admit is causing this behavior or something like that.
Right. I mean, one of the reasons why I reached out to you is because and I got to be real, like I was a little blown away at how like closely our conclusions came to each other on a lot of stuff. I saw you talk about cheese. We ran a survey about 5 years ago. We ran a survey on X, and it's got like 18,000 respondents, right? And it was what is your most binged upon food? And number one was pizza. Pizza is by far in America the number one binged upon food. It is the everything food. Your boyfriend broke up with you, I'll bring a pizza. We're having a celebration. It's a birthday party. It's a celebration. It's a football game. I'll bring a pizza. Like it's everything food, right?
Yeah.
It was pizza, bread, then cheese, then ice cream. Cheese was worse than ice cream.
Yeah.
And I found that video to be very interesting. You want to run through your thought process on that?
Well, cheese has casein in it, and casein is found to be a very addictive property. So that video was actually, I think I used a cheese prop. Are you talking about the video with my client with a piece of cake and they forced her to eat a piece of cake? So the cheese is addicting, I think in its nature, just it has casein in it. So that's like driving people back and forth, especially depending on how it's processed. But in that video that you saw is I talked about how one of my clients came to me after seeing a dietitian, and she was like, seeing your videos and I think I need something else. She went to a dietitian who put a piece of cake in front of her and told her she needed to eat it by the end of the session. And I was like, oh, and I was like, what happened? She's like, literally first, the entire time she was staring at the piece of cake. And so whatever the lady was saying, she could not focus on, because one, the dopamine in her brain was rising in anticipation of the cake. Because I think that's where a lot of these eating disorder therapists, dietitians, they do not realize what's going on in the brain, especially the reward pathway. So she's sitting there watching the cake the whole time. The woman forces her to eat the cake. And then she goes home and it has just set off this entire episode. And she was like, it was one of the worst binges of my life. And I was like, the issue with that there is she did not recognize that the reward pathway in your brain is very sensitive and reactive. And so instead of allowing that pathway time to regulate, it was just activated. And I think there's like nobody touches upon that aspect of binge eating disorder, is that the brain of a binge eater is different compared to a person that does not have a binge eating disorder. There's this assumption that they're only binge eating because they don't eat enough. And that's not the case.
No, in fact, I would argue like it's very rarely the case that people binge because they're not eating enough. Now, don't get me wrong. In my clients, I'm sure you do the same. We try to make sure they stay fed. Like if you binge one day, try to eat as regularly as possible without making yourself uncomfortable the next day, because you don't want to start the seesaw of a binge cycle, right? But also, like when people try to diet down too much, when they have binge eating disorder, if they get overly hungry, it can definitely trigger. Like, I mean, there's no doubt, because they start eating quickly, which is also something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Yeah. But they start eating quickly, and the quickness of eating tends to trigger binges and binge eaters, right?
Yes.
When you do look at the brain scans, and I love that you brought that up. When you do look at the brain scans, they're very like the brain scan of a person with binge eating disorder is very, very closely aligned with somebody with drug addiction, especially cocaine addiction.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that medical science knows that,
Yeah.
but they ignore it.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that they really don't even recognize food addiction as an addiction. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think the society is going to be able to move forward in a reasonable way unless people do that. But this would cause like a cascading issue,
Mhm.
because that would affect a lot of people's industries too. But
Yes.
you basically have to tell a good 40 to 50% of the United States that they have some sort of addiction, and
Yeah.
it's just not what they want. And the weird thing is like, if you look at it, in my opinion, and this is where we might differ, I
Yeah.
view it as absolutely purposeful, because the more people that are addicted to food that is literally engineered to be addictive, they call it the
Yeah.
bliss point for a fucking reason.
Mhm.
Like, then the more people are addicted to the food, the more people have obesity and chronic illness, the more people that have chronic illness and everything like that, then need medical intervention and the healthcare industry. And then the healthcare industry owns a lot of the food industry.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets to be kind of like this horrible cycle of things that people like you and hopefully
Yeah.
myself we're trying to help people wake up to, right?
Yeah.
And when did you realize you were a binge eater? Like, you said 16 years ago. Like, so
I've had
walk me
problems
through it.
with food since I was like 8 years old. I have memories of just not being able to stop. It got really bad in college, but at that time, I didn't identify it as an eating disorder. I was just like, I lose control around food constantly.
Mhm.
And then after I graduated college, when I was in grad school, I was like, oh, this is a binge eating disorder because I cannot control myself around food at all. And
Mhm.
then the moment I realized it was food addiction, this is I have a bit of a wild story. I was living in Australia for a while and I got
Mhm.
kicked out because of a visa. I had to wait overseas for 3 months in Asia. And that's when it fully progressed to food addiction.
Mhm.
And I was just eating all of this processed garbage all the time because quick, convenient. And I was super
Mhm.
stressed waiting for the visa. And I literally remember being like, all right, I'm not going to do this tomorrow. I wake up as the moment I open my eyes, I'm down the road at the servo and I can't even make it back to the hotel at this point. The food is already in my mouth. And I'm like, didn't even make it back to the room. And I was like, okay, not for the rest of the day. Then it just repeats. And I've struggled in my past with Adderall addiction. And so like,
Mhm.
I know what addiction is like. I've been there with stimulants. And then I remember that moment, I was like, oh, like this is addiction. I
Mhm.
actually can't stop.
Mhm.
And the best way, in my opinion, to cure addiction is
Oh,
abstinence.
are you there?
Like, oh yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
You froze up on me.
Oh, am I back now?
You're back now. Yes.
Okay, cool. I don't know where I left off, but in my opinion, the best way to cure addiction, and I've had actually people fight me on this, which is crazy, is abstinence. And like just not, because the reward pathway needs time to heal. As soon as I stopped eating those foods, it became so much easier like to manage it. And so
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, binging disorder is triggered by stress, and you have to be aware of your stress. And I live in a state of constant food noise, like constant, but I'm aware of it. But when I'm eating certain foods, it's so much worse,
Mhm.
which is where the problem, what you were saying, why they're all these processed foods, the agenda, they're making money off of it.
Oh
And
yeah.
something also I want to touch on what you said is a lot of people, I think, are not willing to wake up to the fact that they have a problem with food
Mhm.
and they're eating all of these bad things. And here's another example from a different kind. This is insane. Almost nearly everyone that I see comes to me with a story that they saw a dietitian, they saw a nutritional therapist that was like forcing them to eat some sort of food. Just before I start the story, another side one was this girl was going to an intensive binging disorder treatment, like
Mhm.
sleepover. One of the requirements was dessert every night. And I was like, what? Like, actually, what? Anyway, so this other girl goes and she's like, she was seeing a eating disorder therapist specifically.
Mhm.
And this therapist, you're going to love this one. I've seen how you react to some things. You're going to love this one. She goes, we're going to eat a fear food every day. And this girl, Anna, she goes, what? And she goes, you and I together are going to eat a fear food. And Anna was like, are you kidding me? And so she's like, no, we're going to eat it together every single session. And then she said to me, she was like, this woman was also overweight. So I'm just thinking in my head, she's sitting there with a bunch of people continuously eating her field fruits. And then I'm a big thought processor, like thinking about all these things. I'm like, maybe this woman can have like one piece of cake every hour for the session, not realizing like that's a problem. Maybe she's not getting the same level of dopamine dysregulation as like someone that with me that has ADHD, where I'm getting a bit more out of it, but that's still a problem to be eating that much. And she was like, I couldn't do that, one, because I couldn't get sent back into the cycle like that. And then also from a professional that was overweight, practicing this, eating this constantly, she didn't feel comfortable and that was the right path for her.
That's insane to even think that that's appropriate, if you ask me. Like, one of the biggest problems with food addiction is that you can't, like, if you're addicted to heroin, you stop getting fucking heroin. You know what I mean? Like, if you're addicted to alcohol, you stop going to fucking bars and drinking fucking beer, right?
Yeah.
if you're addicted to food, it's like running through a minefield every day. You know, I mean, because I've been there when I first realized, like, all right, this is a compulsive behavior. This is unhealthy. I'm stopping I'm stopping at Burger King and eating my Burger King while I'm at McDonald's. This is not only is this unhealthy, this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
And when I first stopped doing it, like when I first got done doing it, or tried, you know, it would be like weird, like this, like I would eat a food that then reminded me of McDonald's that I would then all of a sudden binge and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like the refusal to accept that in some way or another, this is a problem. I don't get it. You know, like I truly don't understand when dietitians, and here's what a lot of people don't understand. And this is no knock on, this is not even a knock on the educational system when it comes to healthcare, dietitians, anything like that. But a huge portion of the curriculum written by the Academy for Dietetics, a huge portion of their funding comes from food and pharma. Like, just, I mean, like an enormous portion. It's on their website too. I actually did a post about it yesterday, but I'm talking like Novo Nordics, Eli Lilly, like, you know, Merck Foods. Like, it's insane, right? So you got to look at it like where maybe this information is kind of biased, right? And that's why we also had a lot of dietitians that were literally, like, most dietitians before that are in school before even this past year, they're taught the food pyramid. They may not even realize it, but they're taught the food pyramid. Like, you can go on Instagram at any given time, and I forget which is this lady's like, why listen to a fitness influencer, blah, 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 when, you know, your brain needs carbohydrates. You need the equivalent of X amount of slices of bread a day. And I'm like, so bread has next to no nutritional value at all besides carbohydrates. And even people are like, well, what about the sprouted bread? Like, it's still fucking bread. like don't get me wrong, like I'll have like a gluten-free bun like once on occasion, but I treat like my wife came up with this thing, treat treats like treats instead of food. Because ultra processed foods are not really food. They should be viewed as for pleasure only, right? And it's, you know, I say this, like, ultra processed foods are to nutrition what vodka is to hydration.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, it's still made from, like, vodka is made. It's a liquid. And
it's a liquid.
But is it good for you? And it releases a dopamine thing, like it has euphoric effect feelings. Like, it's very true, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't think society's ready for that. Because one of the biggest things is then they would have to admit that that's what they're doing to children.
Yeah. Something I just thought of here is, so a lot of times, like, I have struggled with food like my entire life because I could never be quote unquote normal around food, right? Anytime I'd have something sugar, it'd be like, and as I got older, like, the episodes got worse and worse because the pattern continued. But then I like take a step back and I'm like, my goal is not to be normal around food. I'm like, I just need to be safe around food. But then I think, how come the whole foods I never have a problem being normal around? It's only these other foods. And then when I looked at it from that lens, I was like, oh, that's interesting that I can be say I still live in food noise all the time, just it's how my brain is. But I don't worry about overeating, overconsuming. I'm not so scared of like falling back into the cycle. And it's when I'm eating those types of foods.
Right. I get nervous around, like, I get nervous in a couple ways. If I ever have to walk into a gas station to get something, I get my fucking my jaw clenches up. Yeah, like it like clenches up because, like, peanut M&Ms are one of my favorite triggers, right? And they're always like, there's big boxes of them. I can feel
the be building as you say that in my head.
Like the weird thing is like they'll fucking destroy my life, but I salivate when I talk about them.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But like I get very tensed up anytime I go into a convenience store because they're always right there, and it would be so easy to just buy a pack real quick. You know, it'd be
Yeah.
so easy. And I just think that like people don't understand the differences, you know, except the weird or not even understand when you look around society.
Mm.
It's hard to believe that the people deep down don't know. I just think we've reached a stage where a lot of people are just like, fuck it, that's what I am. You know, like you hear people be like, I know I'm fat, but I just love food. You don't love it. Like you deep down hate that shit. I know you do. You're just
Yeah.
addicted to it, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been coaching people with this type of problem for going on 8 years now, right? One thing I could say is every case is a little different, but there's always some things that remain the same. And this is something I thought we would talk about because we brought it up already. In my coaching experience, people that have a problem with food, it is 100 out of 100 times that they eat too fast. What do you think?
Well, are you saying it's the cause, or this is something we all have in common?
I'm saying it's something we pretty much all have in common.
Oh, absolutely. We all have in common that we are eating too fast. So the brain is not registering that we're full. And also compounding this is something I would assume a lot of binge eaters have in common too, is I got genetic testing done and my leptin signaling is very weak. And so leptin, the satiety hormone, is not releasing as quickly compared to like someone else whose signaling is more. So I think that's another thing that a lot of people also might have weak leptin signaling. And so I remember I got that done. I was like, wow, okay, I'm really actually not feeling as full as other people when I eat, because I look around, other people could be satisfied with a normal amount of food and I'm not. But I do notice if I am very intentional about chewing slower, eating slower, I do feel more quicker. I do feel fuller quicker.
That's one of the things that because I have trouble with intentionally eating slow. I mean, very much. And my wife has helped figure out a lot of our methods. And we have something we do. It's actually on the app that I put you on. It's called the 75-20-20 protocol, where it's basically you eat 75% of what you plated up for yourself. You stop, press the timer because it will count down 20 minutes, and you drink 20 ounces of water in that 20 minutes, right? Yeah. And then you reassess, am I still hungry? And most of the time, most people realize that they're not. And the reason being is like they're not giving the time for the food that they've already literally wolfed down to, like the stomach stretch receptors are not hitting it, are not being, it's not enough time between the stretch receptor to telling the fat to produce leptin to get to the brain to then produce the hormones for satiety. And I think that that's something that is almost bred into society too. Like they make all these foods very easy, convenient, handheld finger foods. Like I find the finger food thing wild. Like anybody that's worked in a healthcare setting, there's an actual diet called finger food, right? And they mostly give it for people who have Alzheimer's or some sort of dementia diagnosis, because a lot of them do what's called wandering, which means they're constantly moving around, right? And that you give them a finger food diet so they can actually just walk and eat at the same time instead of being sat at a plate and everything like that. Or it's because they have low dexterity with their hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But finger foods are like fast food. Like they're given to you in a wrapper so you can eat, like everything's eaten by hand instead of eaten with, utensils and stuff like that. And I just find it to be where it's almost more intentional. Like, that they have tons of data about like, well, when people eat like this, they eat faster and therefore they consume more calories. Like it's something like people that eat faster tend to consume 300 to 600 more calories in a given day, just from the excess, right? 300 to 600 calories consistently done throughout the course of the year. If just so people understand the math, if every day you do the same thing and you are not losing weight, but you're not gaining weight, you're at homeostasis, and you remove 300 to 600 calories, you are going to lose 30 to 60 pounds if nothing else changes, likely within the course of that year, right? And it's like that basic, But as long as they don't, like right now, I'm sure you're noticing this too. Right now, most social media entities, if we like this video, I'm not expecting to be monetized at all, because we both said binge eating about 155 times.
Yeah.
So they're not going to monetize it, right? But they will monetize people like Nikado Avocado when they literally glutton. Like, have you seen any of these "What I Eat in a Day" videos and stuff like that?
No. What are these videos?
I don't suggest, and I suggest this to every binge eater. Because I do make some content on it. I try not to show it. like actually show them doing it. But it's like basically what I eat in a day as a fat person, and they are eating thousands of fucking calories and smiling and acting like it's a positive thing, right? And but if you like, it depends on where you're at with binge eating. Like, personally, to me, it reminds me of who I used to be, and I'm just like grossed out by it, you know. But I've had many other people be like, "Thanks a lot. Now I'm worried I'm going to go binge."
Yeah.
You know.
Well, two things that would make me, one, that would make me sad seeing that, because I'm like, this person is harming themselves, and also must feel like they are not feeling okay that they're posting that. They're doing that as like a defense mechanism, posting it. But also seeing that it reinforces the loop. Like if your reward pathways are sensitive, depending on where you're at in your recovery from binge eating, that can trigger just seeing it, the sight of it.
That's very true, and that's why I try to tell a lot of people that like don't watch this video if you're gonna have it. I don't do the whole safe space trigger warning bullshit. I don't fucking do that. But at the same time, if you're a binge eater, you shouldn't be around people that binge eat. Like it's another weird thing too. Like a lot of people that like they come to the rationalization like, wow, I'm a binge eater. Like what should I do? Like if you've had the same friend circle for 20 years, you're gonna have to change friends almost. Like I mean.
It's a hard truth. And this is one of the ones that was for me, is like, I kept trying to test my limitations in environments that would, anytime I'd go out to eat, anytime, it would end up with me binge eating. Whenever I travel a lot, whenever I would travel, it would end up with me binge eating. I would be so sick. And so I was like, I'm going to have to cancel this trip because it's ending with me again and again. And a lot of people I think are not willing to do that. But I'm like, if you're not willing to do that, how can you expect to recover? Because you need time to regulate. So I am like the same. It's like, I think people should take a break. If they keep entering environments that are triggering and it keeps ending up with them back in the cycle, they need to be honest with themselves and say, I'm not ready for this type of space, and respect their problem and take a break from it.
I agree with that, but most of the time, what you find, I'm sure you find it in your coaching too. It's like these people don't know how to handle the concept of that, like, and they like the amount of food that gets pushed on people by their loved ones, even like people had to sit down with my relatives. Like my wife would be like, he can't eat that. You know, like if he eats that, it's going to be unhealthy for him. That, and it's like, it just causes me massive stress, like to be around some of this shit, you know, like massive stress. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I'm at the stage in my recovery where I'm like, okay, I probably could have one cookie without it turning into a nightmare. But if I had one, I would be at war with myself. I would literally be at war with myself, and it would be a painful experience that I'm like, I don't want to go there at all. And was a really important boundary that I set for myself. But I think you're right. People are not confident in themselves to set that boundary, or like confident enough to respect that their problem is at that level.
You know, a lot of times what we have our clients do, and this is also on the app, but we have an indulgence planner, meaning like a couple of days ahead of time, you think about what you're going to indulge upon. And then you basically the plan is to hydrate really well that day. Make sure you plan out the food you're going to eat that day, and the recovery plan for the next day. And I always suggest the next day's worth of food, if you have an indulgence, no matter what, should be steak and eggs, something like that, all protein, fat, no carbohydrate, just to push it down. But we always tell the person, like, it can't be something that you can't eat responsibly, you know? And so somebody's like, well, what happens if I can't indulge anything I indulge on? I can't eat responsibly. And
if you can't moderate it, eliminate it.
Right. I love that. That's really, really good. You can't moderate, eliminate it. Not that I mean, I'm sure I'm going to steal it by accident, but
I stole from someone else too. I think that's something. I heard it on a podcast. But something like building upon that is, if you can't moderate, that means you're getting too much reward from it. And so a lot of what I say is, I'm like, when you have a binge eating problem, and you will only understand this if you have a binge eating problem, is you do not want food to be that rewarding of an experience. So people have taken that. This woman that has this woman has 1 million followers on TikTok, and she responded to one of my videos saying that food, if you tell people not to enjoy it, you're something like ruining them in the eyes of God. So she has 1 million followers, and my message was, when you have a binge eating disorder and your brain is activating around a certain food, you should not be getting reward and enjoyment out of food. Food should be a neutral experience that you can move on from. If you're not able to, and you think, oh, if I just keep enjoying these foods, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing, that's very harmful, because then you're feeling like a failure when you can't enjoy yourself around these foods. And so then there's this woman that's telling a million people that if they just try harder to enjoy it and try harder to control themselves, then they'll solve their binge eating problem. And what I was saying, to eat low dopaminergic foods, because that's what the video was about, was the problem.
Well, I hate when they bring God into shit, because then it's like that, because everybody that's watching me pretty much knows I'm atheist. So, but I do believe that especially America would be served if more people followed Jesus, because you motherfuckers. I'm an atheist, but I can tell you a lot of you motherfuckers need Jesus. But a huge portion about that, like my response would have been like, well, isn't gluttony a sin? Isn't greed a sin? Like, to overconsume is greed, like, right?
Yeah.
And so is gluttony. They're both a sin, right? Yeah. And it's like they say these things, and then people are like, oh, they've got God on their side, so I'll listen to this person who's got 1 million followers. And I find that, like, people like you and I, who may not have the millions of followers, but one of the reasons why I always equate this, everybody's like, well, you could be more popular if you said this or presented this way. You could be more popular if you did this. Like, the goal is not popularity. The goal is to actually help people, is it not? Right? Don't get me wrong. I want to pay my bills, right? But honestly, if I get to the point where, like, if I won the lottery today, I'd never be on social media ever again tomorrow. Like, I mean, like, I just wouldn't, like, the goal for people that do what we do shouldn't be popularity. It should be to help as many people as possible. Right. And even though sometimes, and you said you watch some of my stuff, like, since that's an introduction, I am very blunt, obviously. And I noticed. I'm not necessarily what considered the nicest person. Right. But I can say this, I'm a lot nicer than anybody that tells you it's okay. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many clients I've gotten, like, because I used to say this thing, like, you can hate me all you want, but you are going to run up a flight of stairs one day and get winded, or you are going to try to get up and have a hard time, or you are going to do this, and you will hear and see my angry face and voice in your fucking head. And I have had so many clients reach out and be like, so many people be like, I used to hate you so fucking much, and then I heard your voice in my head, like, because frankly, the pandering is just what's hurting people. Like, when we try to ignore, like, one of the things that I'm sure you get a lot is, like, you can't tell a person's health by their size, because, like, I'm sure you hear that a lot, which is insanity. like it's just like, I see doctors saying this shit sometimes. I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, med school for day one is they start talking about physical assessment, like visual physical assessment, and it's just an insane thing to me. How much of this stuff do you think is industry driven, or it's just people wanting to not be nice? Like it's politically correctness? Like, what is it?
I think it's a mix of both, that it's industry driven, but I also think it's people, like, not wanting to be, like, not being able to be true with them, like, honest with themselves about where they're at in their health, and that what they're doing is actually unhealthy. But can I just mention one thing about weight? Is I encourage people to weigh themselves every single day. And because weight is important, it's not like the only piece of data, but it is a piece of data. And a lot of times binge eaters are told that they're too obsessed with their weight and to stop worrying about the number on the scale. And that's what's driving their binge eating. And that is being told to them by other healthcare professionals that believe that binge eating is only from restricting. But the number on the scale does matter, because it correlates with your health. And so when you every day show up and look at the data, it's actually helpful. So, and also people are like, oh, weigh yourself once a week. No, you're more likely to get a skewed number, rather if you weigh yourself daily. And then you can see how your hormones, sleep, stress, everything impacts it. So I do think weight is important. I think that it's not, or people don't focus on it or are ignoring it because of industry, definitely, because they're making money off of it, of everything. And then, so I think it's a 50-50. It's like, it's dependent on who's presenting the information. Is it just like random TikTokers encouraging us to be happy in our bodies? But the real money is the industry, the one that's really having, like, the subliminal messaging on us. It's they're the ones really controlling the narrative. But then we've got the few TikTok people being like, it's okay to be overweight. And
So I knew we'd find something, but I do disagree with the weighing thing. So
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah,
let's hear it.
well, I personally haven't weighed myself in probably 4 years,
Mhm.
just because frankly, I like for people to focus far more on their hydration, sleep, stress release, like
Yeah,
those things, right? Because eventually that will work its way out, right? But
yeah,
also, for women especially, we have women weigh themselves every 2 weeks in their hormonal valley, right? In
yeah,
between their menstruation and ovulation, because then it's kind of a truer statement. Now,
yeah,
I will caveat this. We are
yeah,
finding more and more and more that as people's hormones in society get more and more fucked up, that number is not as true. So if all of a sudden we get a skewed number on a 2 week cycle, we will then have them reweigh the next week and see what's happening. And it's normally because their ovulation was late or missing
yeah,
for a lot of people. But just and I wonder if this is how like it just presents differently in different concepts. And I'm not saying yours is wrong by any stretch of the
yeah, yeah,
imagination, but like for us, like for me, I found myself having unhealthy behaviors around the scale, which is
yeah,
another thing. Like I would find myself like purposely avoiding hydration to weigh like I would step on a scale first thing in the morning after my morning bathroom trip. I wouldn't like the number, and I would find myself in some way purposely dehydrating myself to
yeah,
then weigh myself again and get a more accurate number, even though it's not an accurate number, right? And
yeah,
then you basically chase the dragon. So then you have to do it the next day and the next day and the
yeah,
next day and the next day. Like the first time I lost all the weight and then I regained like 20 pounds and then lost the rest of it again after a while. But
yeah,
I weighed myself every day and put it on social media, which I also think is a massively unhealthy thing to do when I look back on it. And I
yeah,
always tell people that, like, don't start a weight loss journey and do social media around it. Like
yeah,
like take all the video, take all the pictures. When you're done, then then maybe show your journey. But people are like, I'm 400 pounds and I am going to share my weight loss journey with you. Like you are setting yourself up for very serious fucking problems, in
yeah.
my opinion. But that's why I disagree about that one. And I can
Um,
see your point. I can see your point because
yeah,
it's data. But
but
we have I like for some people's brains, too much data will cause like errant behaviors.
I have like a playbook to break the cycle, and in it, there's a caveat under because one of my practices is weigh yourself daily, and I say if this is something that you can't be honest with yourself about doing every day and it's causing more stress rather
Mhm.
than reducing, then this is not the habit for you. But I think this ties back to are I don't know if anyone is, or not anyone, but I don't know, are people willing to be honest with themselves if they're doing things like you said, like
Mhm.
purposely not drinking, doing that. So I think if someone that can be honest and do it, not be conflicting different things, not changing their behaviors
Right.
for the number on the scale, and the intention is just to step on it and see and compare, then yes. But what you're saying is I have like, if it adds a little stress,
Yeah.
if it's causing you to change your
Yeah.
behavior, then no, it's definitely not healthy and can reinforce some of those cycles.
Very well thought out. But that was
Yeah.
very, very. Like I said, because here's the thing. I even told my wife, I was like, you and I have come to a lot of the same conclusions this woman has, like about
Mhm.
binging, like a lot. Because if you ask me, when you take, like, because one of the things I always talk to clients, okay, if you do have a binge, like you've
Yeah.
seen on the app where you can track your
Yeah.
binges.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the next
Mhm.
the next day you take a step back, and instead of wearing that binge as a form of stress, which likely normally causes another binge, and you start a binge cycle,
Yeah.
right? Like you take a step back. What was the factors around it? Were you
Yeah.
like were you dehydrated? Did you sleep well the last couple nights before? Did
Yeah.
you eat a trigger food by accident? Like
Yeah.
something like that. Like was there a very serious stressful event? Like when
Yeah.
then what can you do to mitigate it, avoid it in the future, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that like we've come to a lot of the same conclusions. But
Yeah.
a few other questions for you that I just want kind of like honest
Okay. Okay.
opinion on GLP-1s.
Okay, so I completely understand why people take them. Like, and when I've had horrible food noise and been like, "What this? I can't believe this is my life." I've had the thought, "Let me take one."
Mhm.
Overall, I think they're band-aids, of course. So I get why people get desperate enough to do it. But the clients that I've had that have been on GLP-1s have rebounded harder coming off of them, and also they have stomach issues. I have one girl that has diarrhea constantly, even being off the GLP-1, and
Mhm.
she never had these gut issues before. So I think that it's just like, oh, now you're saying you have a binging disorder. Here's a GLP-1, and it's not addressing the root cause, and the root cause being the behavior, like, and because the behaviors related to the addiction reinforcement cycle. So I can empathize and understand why people take them, but I think long term it's problematic and can reinforce harmful cycles. And I don't know, as more time passes, I guess we'll see some of the what comes of it.
Like we've had so many clients that have been on them that have had to, like almost all of them have to have their gallbladder taken out after a while. Like, you know,
Wow.
like shit like that. But my biggest concern is just how normalized we've made injecting yourself with basically a long-term safety tested, you know, concoction.
Well, same as COVID vaccine, how normal.
Well, you know, in 2021, in late 2021, when people started, the affinity of being terrified over COVID was gone. I posted, I was like, now that everybody is kind of dying off by COVID and they've normalized injecting yourself with, you know, basically experimental compounds, they're going to push weight loss drugs like it's crazy. And here we are, you know, but I think that for some people, I view them the same way I view bariatric surgery. I think bariatric surgery should be used to save somebody's life in the immediate fashion. Like, you're 400 pounds and can't stop eating due to your food addiction. We need to mechanically stop you. Besides hiring somebody to stand next to you to slap the fucking pie out of your hand, which honestly might be less expensive, and better for you in the long run. Bariatric surgery might be needed. Like, I'm not a like turn my mind off to things. I can tell you that the safety data for GLP-1s, like, if you've been on it for 4 or 5 years, you're the experiment. Like, the longest follow-up trial was done by Novo Nordisk, the creators of Wegovy. It was 4 years, and the results on the average are not that good. Like, even somebody that's been on these drugs for 4 years consistently, by Wegovy's own data collection, it's 10%. So if you start at 300 pounds and on average, you're the average person and you lose 30 pounds, you're still morbidly obese. And you've now spent $60,000 in total healthcare burden. You know, even if you have insurance, you've spent some money. And again, we don't know what this is going to do to you 10 years from now. Like, and I'm almost amazed and yet not surprised at how we're able to prescribe a medication or a treatment to somebody that we have no intention of them ever coming off without long-term safety data. And I just think it's so normalized. Like, now they have a pill for it. Like, that's not going to be liver toxic. Like, that's not going to be, you know, that's not going to be toxic to your liver. Like, it's a pill. Like, it's not like, one of the reasons why I was like, well, at least it's an injection. They're not ingesting a pill, and the pill then has to get processed through the liver and can cause, you know, hepatotoxicity, you know. But now, damn, it's like, you know, now it is a pill. And if you use this on a short term, I hope you don't have any negative lasting side effects. And I hope you're able to really focus on getting your lifestyle habits together, getting proper hydration, sleep, stress relief. But be prepared when it comes back. Like, I'm one of the creators of a supplement called No Morbidity, and I love it because it has compounds in it that are clinically shown, like patented, clinically shown to help stave off hunger. And I used it myself for a long, long time, but I weaned myself off of it because I wanted to make sure my healthy habits were all I needed, just in case I, one, couldn't get it, but two, it's still in a gel cap. So it's still not food, you know?
What is it?
It's called No Morbidity.
What's in it?
No Morbidity has, God, let me pull my shit back up. I'm totally blanking. But it has Slimaluna in it, which is basically Carubula. I can never. It's Slimaluna. Carubula fermentata. So it's basically like a succulent plant that's been used for a long time to help basically blunt the creation of ghrelin in your stomach. So therefore, your natural GLP-1 works better because you don't have as much ghrelin in your stomach. Plus, it has citriprocolate, like the normal things besides Slimaluna, right? And I know, don't get me wrong, I love the supplement, and it's helped a lot of people. But at the same time, I am the first one to say it should be supplemental to what you do, right? And I just don't view, and to my partners, very much dislike. I say it's something that as a tool to be temporary, and they don't like hearing that
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
businessmen, and I'm more in this to like help people, right?
Yeah.
But no offense to you dudes if you're watching, but at the same time, uh, all this should be temporary. Like we were meant to ingest whole food, and I have people use it to basically get off of the ultra processed foods.
Yep. I think another issue too, when you just said the whole foods, people aren't eating any protein on it. So they're just in these catabolic states, and no one's handing them the pill without any still nutritional counseling. Like, hey, you gotta eat protein. Yeah, it's not good.
Well, a lot of studies on the behaviors that are done on these things, these people end up eating the same foods, just less of them. And for a lot of people, it's very nutriently sparse, but still is causing fucking their pancreas to throw fits. That and like GLP-1s put people in a hyperinsulinemic state, right?
Yeah.
And that's very bad too. Hyperinsulinemia is one of the things that causes dementia, and everybody's like, well, it's safe, effective, blah, blah, blah. Like this is where we might differ too, but
okay.
just because the FDA says it's safe and effective does not mean it's safe and effective.
Oh no, I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, 77% of the Department for Approval for Human Drugs in 2025 was directly funded by the pharmaceutical industry of the FDA. And that's on their website, also on their, it's like people don't look this shit up. It's on their website who funds them, And do you think that they're going to be more in it for us or for the people that basically write the checks, And it's this thing where like people like it's the trust all doctors thing. First of all, you've worked in healthcare. I've worked in healthcare. Do not trust anybody. Have them convince you. Okay.
Yeah.
Ask questions, but also you're trusting people about your general health when they're basically like auto repair mechanics. They're good at we have what's called an allopathic healthcare system. It's very, very good at you got a broken bone, they fix it really fucking well. You have a sudden injury or illness, they're pretty fucking good at it. But chronic illness, I think, is very, very safe to say they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, and
there's no prevention. There's no focus on prevention. None.
None. I mean, a good 40% of our clientele are doctors and nurses. Because they don't know how to lose weight, they're not taught how. Besides drugs, they're not taught how. And I always find it amazing too, the amount of nurses, especially, who refuse to take GLP-1s and who refuse to take vaccines. It's kind of crazy. Like a lot of nurses, we have a lot of nurses who are like, I would never put that in my body ever, And I think it just goes to show, like, maybe we should just get back to the very basics: hydration, sleep, stress relief, good
foundations,
good community ties that, with people that also, try to be healthy and everything like that. Like, again, we go back to the societal contagion of obesity. And have you ever read those studies? Like where, like the more it's normalized, the more it happens.
Yeah.
I find it to be crazy when you have people that really start addressing their BED. Like, how often do they have to say that they think their friends are sabotaging them?
Like that they come to that conclusion? Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about that conclusion specifically, but it's more like their friends completely do not understand, like miss the mark, or that they identify their friends as triggering, but it's more like the people that they're around are making it worse. That type of thing.
I see it almost purposely, like, oh, you can't have this, or you can't even have one, or like, no, motherfucker. I can't,
Do you know what one of my best friends said to me? I literally ate like over 100 Oreos at once, and just like in a blackout episode. And I called her and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. And she's like, well, substitute it for some carrots. And I was like, what? Like, just completely missed like what my experience was going through, because this girl has never had any sort of issue in her life. And so her solution was like, just substitute the carrots. And I'm like, that's not it. And then that just further reinforced my shame. And this is supposed to be a safe person for me.
And the insanity about that is 100 Oreos worth of carrots would fuck you up. Like that would have fucked you up. Probably even worse than the Oreos because of the amount of fiber and shit that is. That would have fucked you up.
Yeah.
You know, I also hear that too. Like, I mean, people get so caught up in don't eat meat and everything like that. I don't. I'm going a decent fair, and this is just an assumption of mine. I haven't really written anything about it yet.
Yeah.
And I have nothing against vegans or vegetarians. I was pescatarian for a long time.
Yeah.
But I do believe you're going to have a hard time. If you're a binge eater, you're going to have a hard time staying in recovery without eating red meat.
Well, I think back to when I was a vegan in college, and those are some of the worst days of my life, and days that I start my day every day with ground beef, like a ground beef patty. And I'm better. My urges are more controlled when I start my day with beef.
Well, the advised like breakfast. First of all, I'm not a big breakfast person. Like I really, when people wake up, they're classically dehydrated just because they've spent 8 to 10 hours without taking in any hydration, just through expiration, perspiration, and then the process of bodily waste. They're in a classic dehydrated state. So you're better off in the day to, even before you drink your morning coffee, 20 or 30 ounces of water, then maybe even coffee on top of that, and then address your hunger. You know.
Yeah.
But some people are so into the habit of eating breakfast that it becomes a habitual thing, and you have to look out for that too. But if you are going to eat, then I had a 3 meal a day eating pattern: carno, keto, whole food. Like your first meal should be meat, eggs, then maybe keto, so you have meat and basically, you know, non-starchy vegetables, and then whole food. You can have like a starchy vegetable at dinner, or rice or whatever, right? And people freak about this, like, because like, well, that's not breakfast food. I always hear like steak's not breakfast food.
What is cereal a breakfast food? Like, that is not a breakfast food.
Cereal's not a food, technically. Like,
period. Yeah. Cereal's not a food.
It's not really a food. It's a food-like product designed to hit the bliss point. That we market to fucking children, which makes it even worse, you know?
Yeah.
And I was wondering your take on that, because I've talked to a few other people who like are like, this is their focus, is binge eating, which is wild. You would think that most people that want to help people lose weight, when you take a look at it, like binge eating disorder and food addiction are the two most prominent eating disorders in America. Easily, you know, like and it's like almost like forbidden speak. It's like talking about binge eating, even on like I said, I don't expect this video to be monetized if it stays up. Honestly, because we've spoken about it so much. But it's just one of these things where it's like, we're not having realistic conversations about this, but they've all come to that conclusion too. Like, where it's like, if you're a binge eater, especially if you're like a vegan binge eater, you're gonna have to start eating meat. Like it's almost guaranteed, you know? So what questions do you have, like, for me, or what like any thoughts you have before we wrap up? I normally like to keep this to an hour, but I'd love to have you back on also again. I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, sounds great. No, I don't think I have any questions for you. Just I was looking through your like content and just your story pretty much was my only question.
So I worked in the bar business for a long time. You know, I'm 50 some years old, so I'm a Generation X person. And you know, not really unhealthy habits, but I was always lifted weights, always been a lifter. And then when I met my wife and son, I moved into the healthcare realm. I luckily was very, very good at numbers and organization, mathematics, and managerial skills, especially multi-unit management. I'm very good at managing multiple facilities at the same time, working them in an interaction way, right? And I went into healthcare, and I went back to school, got a degree in healthcare administration on top of my other degree. And I moved up the ranks pretty quickly and became basically an executive that I was in charge of about, you know, at the end of it, close to $100 million in yearly business for the nutrition departments for hospitals, skilled nursings, assisted livings, recovery centers, those sorts of things. Right. And then I hated traveling for work, and I did not like being in the healthcare industry. So after about like 8 years, you know, my wife and I sat down and we're starting to talk about what was, you know, what we could do to move away from it. Our son was getting ready to graduate high school. So it was like, all right, well, you know, like my wife is the most impressive fitness instructor nobody's ever heard of, pretty much, because she doesn't like social media. but yoga, group fitness, addiction counseling training, like everything, like amazing. She's the one that figured out most of our methods. And she figured them out because of me, because while I was in the healthcare industry, I was traveling a lot and I was eating like fucking shit. And that's when food addiction that's when it really, really started. Since I didn't a lot of people that travel for a living, especially in the job I used to do, they would go to a bar every night, or they would like do this in a different town every night, and they like looked at it as like a lifestyle. But I came home and like FaceTimed my wife and ate a bunch of food in my hotel room and did a bunch of work. That way I wouldn't have to do work when I got home. And it got to the point like eating 10 McDoubles in a fucking sitting in the hotel room, dipping them in a big bowl of ketchup. Like no shit, like 4,000 calories, 5,000 calories in a dinner, oftentimes, right?
Yeah.
And but then a fucked up thing happened where my concept was like, well, I could go back to training people. I'm a really strong guy. At the time I was squatting close to 600 pounds in my 40s, and or late 30s at the time. No, 40s, in my early 40s. And I'm from Pittsburgh, so I was like, I'm also very sarcastically funny, so I'll just start making some funny YouTube videos, and we laughed about it and blah blah blah. And then it just fucking caught on, like, because I did basically roasting comedy videos for the first couple of years of this, and I fell into a weird trap where it was like the fatter I got, the stronger I got, because and that's that's a powerlifting thing, so it's like the binge eater in me, like the binge eating disorder is like, eat more, you'll be more popular, you'll make more money, because it was really starting to take off, right? And I entered a Masters 1 for my age bracket powerlifting competition, and I was like I was going to break the national record on my first powerlifting meet ever, right? And I'm training for it, eating fucking big, like, because I'm getting ready, and I'm like literally leg day, 3 days a week in the gym, killing it, right? And I hadn't weighed myself in a couple months when I was already about 282 pounds was my last weight before I weighed myself. And I knew I had gained some more weight since then.
Yeah.
And one morning I realized I wasn't sleeping really well, and I told my wife, I was like, I don't think I'm sleeping well. And she looked at me like, you think? Like I was snoring so bad, it was keeping her up, right? So I felt bad. And then like the next morning, there was a doorbell ring at my door, and I was expecting a package from work. So our room was in in the basement. We had a converted basement that was basically our master suite. So I ran up the stairs real quick, and I fucking almost passed out. Like, I mean, just from the quick movement, right? And I was like, oh shit, like this is fucked up. And I talked to my wife about it, and she sat me down, and she was like, don't you want to spend a long life with me? Is this shit more important than me? And I fucking that fucking day, that fucking day I changed. And I'm lucky she was able to be that blunt with me about it, right? So I switched up my content, and that was also right. That was also right at the time when fat acceptance. It wasn't even body positivity before; it was fat acceptance started. That was like right about the time where Tess Holliday was on the cover of Cosmo before she gained another 150 fucking pounds. And it just dawned on me that we were going to politically correct ourselves to death. Like, I saw a lot of these like fat activists, literally what they called themselves, which is such a such a contradictory term to begin with, fat and actives. Anyway, but and I saw like the machine, like, because I was already out of the healthcare industry, and I realized that that's all like a propaganda machine to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
But the machine was starting to say like, well, you shouldn't even talk about somebody's weight. Like, why the fuck not? Like, do people understand how much burden this adds to our healthcare system, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's everybody's business. But yet alone, I was like thinking like, I remember I did a video. I was like, we are going to politically correct ourselves out of existence. Like, to avoid telling people hard truths just because you don't want to be seen as the bad person makes you a bad person. Like you look right into a 300-pound person's face and be like, you're fine the way you are. Like,
it's harmful.
It is harmful because one, you're lying to them.
Yeah.
Right. It is not love. It is not care. It is not anything like that. Two, they know you're lying to them.
Yeah.
And they'll just not.
And then there's that mismatch too, like, which is very hard.
And deep down, that they know that you're lying to them. So it's not really love. It's not really a friendship. It's not really anything like that. Like, to me, love is like, hey, you're fat. You need to lose some fucking weight. Like, I mean, like I did this one video, and I thought I got so many death threats from this video, but I was like, if you love your relatives and they're fat, you'll tell them to lose weight. You'll tell them they're fat. And people were like, how dare you fucking say that? Like, what do you mean? So it went on from there. I wrote a book called fuck being fat, solve your weight problems once and for all for math and willpower. You know, like, and that was an Amazon bestseller until they booted it off Amazon because I was talking about fat people. And then I've written a couple follow-up books since then. And the last one was Hunger Free and Happy. And we made that one into an app, you know? I was back in 2020, I was basically, if I was at 275,000 subscribers on YouTube back in 2020, and I was getting about 2,000 new subscribers a week. And I was on a cruise ship in early March of 2020, and I got a notification when I got back from port in Cozumel back onto the ship when my Wi-Fi kicked back on, that I was, you know, like they were going to do the whole 15-day to slow the fucking spread thing and everything like that. And like I said, like and again, we can have a whole other conversation on public health, which I would love to fucking have with you, because we made so many mistakes in 2020. Like that had to be purposeful, right? And like on all my social media, since I had like a good bit of tequila in me because we were just in Cozumel, I wrote like, hey, you know, I hear there's governors talking about, you know, curfews and shit like that. And last I checked, I'm not 14 and the governor's not my mom, so fuck a curfew. And I was like, also, just so everybody understands, you know, maybe we should keep the immunocompromised people and very elderly people as safe as they want to stay. We shouldn't tell anybody to do anything, but you know, when we're talking about telling people they have to stay in their house, that's literally turning the Constitution off, and rights that are given away have to be fought to get back, right? And YouTube shut my shit basically the fuck off. I had a second channel that had 100,000 subscribers, deleted almost immediately. And this channel, obviously, I post videos almost every day on it, and they get whatever they get anywhere from like 1,000 to 15,000 views on it. I used to get 100,000 views a video, but also like they've demonetized me multiple times, shit like that. And the one thing I can say about all of this is that like that formed me even harder in that, like, well, if we're just going to keep lying to people, I might as well be the one telling people the truth, whether it's, you know, they're going to, I'm sure you've even seen it in your content. Like your content's not going to be that pushed when you talk about.
It doesn't get that, especially in the beginning, because I only started making content 3 months ago. And it took and I thought at first I was like trying to like change like the and binge eating and like things like that. But then I just gave up and I was like, it will find the right people. And if not, it is what it is. And like, even though I only have like 10,000 followers on TikTok, but I will say they're all like strong followers. Like they're not passive, which is really good because it's like people that actually are like resonating. And it's like the first time, like so many people have reached out to me and they're like, this is the first time someone's telling me that something like bad isn't going to happen if I have a cookie. Like, yes, something bad is going to happen if you have a cookie. If the pattern is continuously what you have been sent to the binge cycle, for me to say, oh, it's not that bad, like that's not accurate. So it's at least, even though like the number isn't that high, it's strong, I've recognized, but I know it's like not getting pushed as heavy.
And hopefully that'll change over time, because realistic, like it's not even a deniable thing. Realistic conversations need to be had, but it's just, it's still not societally acceptable. And by societally acceptable, 70 some or 80 some % of the ad revenue for social media, mainstream media, all of it put together, literally comes from big food and big pharma. So people like you and I are basically against the product or the profit line. So, but listen, tell everybody where they can find you. It was great to have you. If you're interested, I'll definitely set something up where we can talk about the whole public health debacle. Yeah,
sounds good.
Because go ahead.
So I have like an interesting lens. So I did my bachelor's in America. I did the first year of my master's at Emory, then got stuck in Australia during COVID and finished my master's in Australia. So I have like a bit of an international lens with it too. But yeah, I'm definitely interested. So my name, Healthanie, that's where you can find me on TikTok and then Instagram. And now I just made a YouTube for this.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. And let me know if there's anything you need. I'll send you a message, and you're on the app now too. So please enjoy that.
I know, that's awesome. Thank
you. Everybody, thank you very much for showing up. I will probably be off for the rest of the weekend because I want to be, and then I'll be back Monday. Everybody have a great day. God damn.
Thank you. See you.